This is episode 68, 66, not 68, of the Cafe Racer podcast for November 8th, 2014. I'm Ridiculous, and I'm Crash.
Yeah, I'm Steven.
I'm like, hey, so we're episode 66, right? You're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, all right, this is episode 68. No, not 68.
I think people are going to think we do this on purpose, honestly.
I know, that's the funny thing. This time it was because I was thinking of November 8th. Because I'm looking at the 8 in the bottom left of my screen, but yeah.
Right. That makes sense. So, did you get to ride today?
No, I didn't get. I don't know if I told you last time we spoke, but I had a turn signal light go out. And I mean that's not gonna like keep me from riding the motorcycle or anything, but I didn't ride it today. I did get a new bulb though, so that's installed and ready to go.
So we're 16 minutes late, and I'm already getting texts from listeners saying it's not working. Sorry, John. John Jones is there trying to watch it, and he goes, "I'm not getting anything." Try now, John. We're live. So, well, if you're hearing that, you're hearing us.
That's true.
No, I got a 4-day weekend, and I was planning on doing a bunch of riding, and then, as usual, it didn't turn out that way. So I had to haul a ladder up to one of my son's house today to help him hang some lamps, and I tried to fit it on the Stelvio, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
I had to take my truck.
So I've got Monday and Tuesday off as well, and I might try to go for a ride on Monday.
Yeah, I do too. I think we're going to try to go. I think tomorrow's going to be rainy here. I was going to go to the gas station in the morning if I can make it out before it rains, and we're going to try to hit a movie. But I might be having another granddaughter Monday or Tuesday. So.
Oh yeah.
My youngest son's girl is getting ready to deliver any minute now, maybe even tonight. So we'll see. Yeah, my army's shaping up really nicely.
Seems to be a lot of girls in it.
Yeah, it's all girls. It's an all-girl army. But so I'm hoping that I'll get some riding in because the weather's been really nice. It was cool. We actually had to do a turn and burn yesterday. We drove all the way to Orlando and back in one day. My wife's dad owns a tire store, and this place has been open since the 60s. They sold it. He's retiring, and so we had some furniture up there that I was going to pick up when I was going to go to the Revival Rally in December. Well, that schedule kind of got changed, and we hooked the trailer up, drove up there, and then my wife kept seeing like antiques and stuff around this place that she wanted. Mm-hmm. So by the time I packed up to leave, I felt like Fred Sanford. I had just stuff everywhere on the trailer and the truck, and still she's decided now that she wants all his fencing and his chicken coops and stuff. He used to raise birds for something, I guess, but now she's going to make another trip up there and go get a bunch more stuff.
At any point, have like a really gravelly voice and call someone a big dummy.
Yeah. Say, Elizabeth,
you big dummy.
One of my friends yesterday called me Lamont. I was driving home. So they were all in on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how do you like the new camera angle?
I like it. You rearranged the room a little bit in there, so you got
kind of avant-garde. I'm off to one side, kind of, you know.
Yeah, the only reason I do it is because, you can see kind of the edge of the giant mess behind me, but I'm just trying to, like, minimize the amount of mess in view.
What's that giant red ball?
It's one of those exercise balls, like a Pilates ball or whatever the heck you want to call them.
Right.
It never gets used. It's one of those things, like, when Haley was pregnant with Gareth, she was looking online, like, cause like they were like, yeah, you can get, use them for like helping to stretch out and whatever. And she never really used it. And I use it sometimes as a chair, as an office chair. I've done that a few times. You just sit on it because it's supposed to be good for your core.
Right.
And I have another one. If you go in the other room, there's a full-size, a bigger one that's for me that I really never use either. So
We have one of those too. It's in the garage. It's gray, so it never gets used either.
But yeah, especially lately, the camera angle is helpful because like you can see the guitar case and then the diaper box back there, but the 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 closet rod, for the coats and stuff in my closet in here just collapsed. So the whole closet is sitting on the bed. So.
Hey, just a little announcement. The Q&A is turned on, so if there's some people that hit yes that they were going to be watching. So if you are watching, you can pop into the Q&A and ask questions and basically heckle us if you want to. I just want to make sure it works. But John, if you got the thing to work and you're out there, send us a message on the Q&A. So actually, John gave us some pretty good feedback on the Facebook page a while back about the audio quality, and we've been working really hard to level that out so that I know that it's really tough when we do interviews, especially when we were at AIM. And I'm not making an excuse for this, but Scott's volume was a little higher, mine was a little low on some of them, but we've recently got some new tools to clean that up a little bit so that the audio quality is better. What was that?
We have top men working on it.
Yeah, we got the government's top people on it. Their names are Crash and Steven, so. But hopefully, I got a message back from Jim Park from the MSTA that he said that he listened to the second set of interviews and they were much better, and that was some stuff that we cleaned up a lot. And the interview with Kevin Schwantz, which was a lot of fun, that's up on the YouTube channel finally, and that interview, that audio, it was heavily massaged because I lost the gain on the mics that were in the camera. So unfortunately, thank God I had a handy quarter, a little DR05 running to capture that, but I shouldn't tell you these secrets, but that was a reality. And so doing the remote stuff with video is kind of a big learning curve for me. My background was just in film-based still photography, so doing video work with audio is kind of new. So hopefully it'll get better and better each time. And these little things, little GoPros kind of have great video, but the audio on them stinks, so you kind of have to learn how to figure that out.
Yeah, they're a little special.
Yeah. What's funny is I noticed too that one of the Panasonic cameras, the GH4 Panasonic, that's like a Micro Four Thirds like I have, that thing will shoot 4K video, and they make an audio interface for it that you can plug XLRs into, but it's like $1,100 for this.
Wow.
Thing. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just so much easier to plug it in a recorder. But anyway, that's enough of that. We'll start talking about motorcycles. So anyway, we both didn't get to ride. I rode to work during the week, and the weather here has been really nice, so I've been taking the bike out more. And then I was going to go pull the Le Mans out and ride it, and I noticed there's a trail of what appears to be oil leaking from underneath it.
That's supposed to stay on the inside.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a British bike. They just don't leak.
Yeah.
And I checked the oil level. It's fine. I kind of wiped it up off the floor runner in the garage, and it looks to be really light. So I don't know what it is, honestly. It's not leaking actively that I can see it, and I can't really tell where it's coming from. The only thing I can think of is that it might have been I topped off one day when I did on the DGR ride.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the overflow. Maybe I put a little bit too much in.
Yeah, maybe it got hot and released a little excess.
Spit a little bit out. So I think I cleaned it all up. It's not actively leaking. Maybe I'll take that for a ride tomorrow and see what happens. See if it's leaking by the time I get up to the Shell station.
I remember the very first time I met Todd from the Wheel Nerds. He's like, "You're leaking oil," and I was like, and for a second I didn't think about it, but like I looked all over the bike and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, no, it's my crankcase breather. It just vents out into the world, so it always smells like I'm leaking oil."
It's supposed to be like that?
No, but I got rid of the airbox. Like originally, if the airbox was still there, it would spew back into the airbox and then get recycled back into the engine. But since the airbox is no longer present, it just has a little filter on it at the end. But that filter really only serves to collect oily mist and then drip eventually. And so I try to remember to take it off and clean it. But
It's funny because like on the ADV forum, on the Stelvio group, they all talk about capping the breather off that's on the CARC, the final drive,
mm-hmm.
because they worry about getting water in there when you take the bike in a river crossing or deep water that's covering the CARC completely. I don't know. I can't. It doesn't seem like anything would actually go in there. It's so small, but
I don't know. I don't know what that one's made out of. But like in my case, or I believe in my case, it's a one-way valve. So as the pressure builds up inside, it lets off, but it won't let back in.
yeah, I don't know how that thing works on mine. I'm not gonna mess with it though, because I'm not planning on forging any river crossings right now. But people were saying that they thought they were getting it in during the rain. I find that really hard to believe. That's probably close to impossible.
It also seems like a really strange thing to have. Uh, Sorry, to have not engineered for.
Yeah, exactly. So talking about this in the garage, can you guys see this right now?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody gave me an idea, and we talked about this AirTech fairings, right? This is what the bike I was trying to show you last episode. This is a Honda RC 181.
Yeah.
AirTech actually makes that tank, that seat, everything to make it look like that. But I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not spend all that time and money changing out the seat and tank. And what I found was, which was really kind of interesting, let me see if I can find it on here. You see this bike right here?
Mm-hmm.
That actually...
The new CB1100, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the new 1100. And it's just got a little chopped rear section on there, but that's what I'm kind of thinking of, is leaving the frame that gunmetal gray that it is now and just painting the standard CB750 tank and that rear tail section I have red.
Hmm.
And even leaving that just the way it is for right now.
Yeah.
Just red and gray, and then eventually when I can put together some extra cash getting that AirTag fairing and painting that silver or gray, I think it would look kind of cool.
I think it would too. I was looking at those AirTech fairings again yesterday. I found a video of somebody had like a walk around so from the side, you get an idea of what the bike looks like from the side, but you can't really see how far from the bike the fairing is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it stick out really far? That sort of thing, or is it really nice and narrow still? And I saw somebody had like a walk around video of a Thruxton that had the AirTech fairing on it. And I was really impressed with how close and nicely nicely engineered, and it just fit really slim up against the body, and so you didn't have like this giant, way out from the side kind of thing.
Yeah, apparently it sucks in real nice because they make a really nice bracket for it that has the right mounting points so that it is nice and low profile.
Yeah.
It's not just something you got to cobble up yourself. But I think I'm going to kind of investigate this. Now, I know we had gotten an email from a listener about that. Do you want to read that? Because I don't have that. But you were saying
the fairing.
You said something about a different company.
Let me pull it up. I think the easiest place to find is on my phone. Yeah, he was talking about a company called Farley and Ace. They make some specific stuff for the Bonnevilles and Thruxtons. So,
We'll look on there real quick and see.
And so just listen to podcast 55. You mentioned Farley and Ace versus AirTech fairings. I actually have a Farley and Ace fairing on my 2010 Bonneville. I didn't know about AirTech until well after I had the Farley and Ace fairing. I like the AirTech better, However, you need clip-ons for installation. At least that's what it says. Well, I have clip-ons, which is nice for me. He's like, he's short, so the standard Bonneville handlebars are better for him. And that he said it looks cool, some odd angles from the side. I think that AirTech would be nicer. The fairing, the Farley and Ace fairing does have a bat bike kind of look though, and installation isn't as easy as it should be. He says he's not 100% happy with it, but I kind of feel like most of us are not 100% happy with a lot of things that we do to our motorcycles, and there's always like one more thing we need to change. And then he sent some pictures, and we can post the pictures with the show, or with the show. And if I take a second to pull the email up on my computer, I can share the pictures with everyone.
Yeah, because I saw you copied me on that, but I didn't get to see the pictures, and I just went to their website, and their website's nowhere near as slick as AirTech's is.
Yeah, their website looks like it was made in like 1998.
Yeah, like on AOL.com or something.
That's low budget.
Yeah.
I mean, not that we really pay much for the look of our website either, but I feel like we're doing better.
We have the top web designers working on our site right now.
And top men. All right. Screen share thingy. Let's do this.
Yeah, I want to see what this bike looks like because it's got my interest really piqued about changing this thing.
All right. So here's the side shot of the bike.
Right. Okay.
We've got and all this yellow is reflective tape, which I think is really cool. I bet it looks really interesting at night. And then he's even got it around the saddlebags, like around the top and the curves on the saddlebags. And then there's another shot. You can see it kind of at an angle. And I definitely understand what he means about, it's got a bit of a bat bike kind of feel.
How so? I mean, what are you looking at that makes you feel like that?
Well, just the fairing kind of sticks out, and then the windshield's like super tall.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't have clip-ons, so that would kind of make the bike feel narrower and look narrower.
And I apologize in advance for all the people that are going to be listening to this on the podcast and can't see any of this.
Yeah.
If you go to Farley and Ace and AirTech, you'll get an idea what we're talking about. And I'll put it in the show notes. Matter of fact, we'll put the pictures up with the podcast so you guys can see it on the website.
And this one, the overall aesthetic, he's got a solo seat with a luggage rack and then the hard bags. I told him in the email it really has like a R100 RS kind of feel to me, like an 80s BMW kind of look to it.
Yeah, it really does. You know what it kind of reminds me of is an R90 with bags.
Yeah, that's actually a really good comparison. Which personally, I've always had like a major like crush on that bike, like especially the RS, the R100 RS.
Did I ever tell you the story about when I was in high school with that bike?
No.
So I graduated high school in '81, like '79, '78. And I was a freshman and a sophomore. We had a BMW motorcycle dealership not too far from my house. It was called 441 Cycles. And as a matter of fact, the BMW dealership is still active. It's just in a little bit different location, and it's just called, I think, Fort Lauderdale BMW or something. But I used to go there and sit in the showroom and drool over the R100 RS. At the time, they had that bike in like a silverish blue kind of color.
Mm-hmm.
Man, to me, that was just, and everyone else was riding sport bikes, and when I was in high school, two-strokes were big, Cowie triples and RDs, and everyone had some flavor of a two-stroke, and then there was a lot of standards. You didn't really see a whole lot of the typical bikes you see today, sport bikes back then.
Right.
That R100 RS, man, I want to say back then it was like $8,000, which was just crazy money for the late '70s, early '80s. What do you got up there? Let me see.
I'm actually just messing around with it because apparently my video's disappeared. Unless you can see it.
No, I just see whatever you're looking at. You just stop it and it'll come up in a minute. But anyway, getting back to that bike, and then the R90, I remember seeing an R90 in that orange fade paint job. with a set of hard bags on the back, and at the time they were just black. The bags that were on the back.
Yeah, those are those boxy Krauser saddlebags.
Yeah, Krauser, who made them, and that was just the coolest looking bike, I thought. You know, and when I had heard they were coming out with some sort of an anniversary of, which ends up being, I believe, the 9T. You know, I was hoping they were going to come back with an R90.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I will share another screen, my desktop background, because so Roland Sands did that sort of like collaboration with BMW, and that's my desktop background picture, which is that like collaboration R9T with the sunburst paint and everything.
Right, right. Man, that would have been, see, to me, that's what they should have come out with. That's the bike right there.
Yep.
That is just killer. So let's talk, when we're sitting here looking at this, let's talk about the 9T, because I actually had a chance to go spend some more time looking at one in person, and one of the guys that I hang out with bought one. So he came up to the Shell station on last Sunday, but Saturday they had a grand opening at the BMW dealership. And I went over and I got a chance to talk to the owner and one of the sales managers and actually a rep from BMW. And I got some quick interviews that we'll add to the end of the show.
Yeah.
It gets that goes out as a podcast so you can hear it. And I had a little bit of fun with them. I broke their chops a little bit about, the whole marketing deal with BMW. What I found out was they really weren't prepared for how popular the being able to change that bike around and make it look, like take the rear tail section off, because they don't offer that kit yet in the United States.
Yeah, I honestly, until you mentioned it the other day, I didn't know that it was even possible.
Yeah, well, there was some stuff in some of the ads that talked about it, and somebody, I think maybe when it first came out, whoever they released that information from, there were some press pictures that showed it in all three configurations. So the way the bike comes right now is with a full fender and tail section that's got turn signals and a license plate tag on it, and they said that, and this is, the bike's very popular, it's selling really quick, but one of the ones that had just gone out of the dealership, the guy had ordered every option that BMW had in the catalog for the bike at the time, and none of them included this conversion kit for the tail section. So I'd asked him, I said, well, where's the tag going to go? And they didn't really have a straight answer. They weren't 100% sure if it was going to mount somewhere off the swing arm, or they didn't know. But you can see pretty clearly the rear subframe, there's a couple struts that run down from the back of the subframe where the passenger pegs are that bolt into the frame. And you can remove that with the passenger pegs, and then that rear seat section comes off. And what the rep from BMW told me is that the U.S. model of the bike, he said he used the term canister. There's a canister that's attached to that they didn't think people were going to want to take it off, and they haven't dealt with that yet. When you say canister, the thing I'm thinking of right off the bat is charcoal canister, right?
Like emissions or something.
Yeah, and I looked, and there is a canister there underneath, but it doesn't appear to be mounted on anything that you would be affected when you take that rear tail section off. So I don't know. I don't know if it's something else under there that I didn't see, but or maybe this thing, if you do take that tail section off, it's going to affect how that canister is mounted. But so I guess that they're in the process now of coming out with a kit for relocating of turn signals and the license plate to be able to use that. I had heard someone in the dealership say, yeah, you can get it, but it says it's not for on-road use. Okay.
Yeah, neither are my exhaust pipes or my turn signals or like most of the things I put on my bike.
Crash, you disappeared, man. Where are you?
I don't know. That's what I was saying. Like, my video just went out. I don't really know why. When I stopped screen sharing, I apparently stopped everything visual sharing.
That's really weird. Yeah. So I'm going to just turn you off. So until you fix it, you don't get to be on there at all.
That's fine.
How's that?
Whatever. Yeah. I'll live.
So there's a couple cool things that came out of EICMA. Before I talk about that, have you seen the video that's floating around of the high-speed passes of the H2?
Yes. I saw you posted it on Facebook. That's the one where the rider comes by like right up against the wall.
Right.
Just like I would that would scare the crap out of me. Like if I was standing there when he drove by.
That was sick. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, that thing sounds incredible. And the passes are really quick too. It's really funny because there's a couple videos on YouTube that I found where somebody's trying to compare. There's another promotional video that Kawasaki came out with before they announced it, before they announced what the thing looked like. You remember the first one that came out where it just showed the bike making one high-speed pass?
Yeah.
There's a guy that's trying to figure out, he posted a couple of videos trying to figure out how fast that bike was going in there by like videotaping the same pass on his Hayabusa. And I thought it was really funny that he went through this whole process of this some scientific explanation of how fast he thought the bike was going because of his pass that he made on his Busa. Whatever. I just thought that clip of them testing the bike was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So they came out with the street version. I saw at EICMA, but I didn't see a price. Did you?
No. But I mean, it's probably going to be up there.
You think north of 20,000?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Probably. It's a cool looking bike though. I liked it. I know I always said that the Honda MN4 was ridiculous looking, and it kind of had an anime look to it. But I thought this thing was kind of neat. I like angular stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why I like the KTM. The RC8 is a cool bike.
Angular, funky looking motorcycles. We got a question from John in the Q&A.
Good, he made it.
About our thoughts on the new Huskies. Have you looked at the new the EICMA Husky concepts for the Svartpilen and the Vitpilen?
No.
They're really Mad Maxy looking.
John's got a bunch of stuff in here. I gotta look at it. Okay, show me the let me look it up real quick. What's this now? A Husky what?
Yeah, it's a Husky. Like if you just look up like Husky and then EICMA, I can screen share and then.
Yeah, because let me see if your screen share works. If you just completely destroyed the Google Hangout thing, find it real quick.
Share will work. It's just nothing else.
Yeah, John said he doesn't get any water in his Breva Kark either, which I just kind of think that's kind of overkill, honestly, with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like here they are.
Let me take a look.
It's so like the top looks like it's all one piece and it's just so flat, and I think it looks really cool personally. I'd definitely ride it, that's for sure. And the tail section's all like really truncated and everything looks all closed up.
What is that underneath the tail section that looks reflective?
That's what I'm trying to find a shot of. Like, it looks almost like a mud guard.
Paul Kelly just posted an interesting question. We'll get to that in a second, Paul, because that's something I want you to put your 2 cents in about, Crash. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
And I don't know. This is kind of really that's a little out there for me.
Oh yeah, they're crazy looking. For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird.
Black one of the two. It's got the higher handlebars and the dirtier tires and stuff, but it's a really like avant-garde look at like what a scrambler would look like.
I don't know. These are concepts though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Paul Kelly says it looks like a ball breaker. And,
yeah, it does actually. It doesn't look like it's comfortable at all. But then again, that seat that I've got on the CB750 is not looking like it's comfortable either. And that's pretty. I don't know. That's not me. That's not my cup of tea. So. Paul said, we'll get to that in a second. What I want to do is just finish up talking about the BMW 9T for a second. Is that because John kind of made a comment about price, and that was one of the things that bugged me about this bike is it's like $15,000 for that bike. Oh, look, you're back.
Hey, I'm back. Holy crap.
$15,000,
Yeah.
and I know it's a BMW, and I know that's supposed to be a premium brand, but you don't get a lot for 15 grand. It's a standard.
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy on base that rides one, and I've never stopped and talked to him. Um, but every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that bike looks great, but I wouldn't want to spend that much on it.
No, no, I think that bike should have came in at, even though it's a BMW, to me it should have been around 12 probably.
Yeah, max. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
it's just
is it? I haven't even looked. It's a smaller engine. It's not the 1200 engine, is it? It's a 900-ish
well,
engine.
that's interesting that you bring that up because I asked that question and he said it was the 1200.
Is it? I'll look it up right now.
So maybe they were wrong, but I don't know. The bike looks cool. It's a neat looking bike, but I think I'd rather have for that spending the money. I think for me it would be maybe a Thruxton, but
Oh, it is a 1200 motor.
yeah. What's it weigh?
As soon as I find it, I'll tell you. Road ready, fully fueled, 222 kilograms, which is about uh, 489 pounds. So same as the Bonneville, really.
Hey John, do me a favor and send me that link you just sent for the camera put it on the Facebook page. For some reason I can't click on those in the chat. And so here's what Paul brought up is, do you guys remember the study of military riders that had high vis listed versus not? I'd love to take a closer look. They make you wear high vis on base, don't they?
No, they used to though. I don't. I know there was a study. I don't remember much about it. Like I don't remember the results of the study, but I do know that um, the instruction that governs us, the Department of Defense instruction, used to say that you had to have high vis, and then they changed it. I don't know exactly what year, but it was in the last 5 years. They changed it to say recommended about high visibility stuff. So
here's my take on high vis, because I know there's some of the guys I ride with at the MSTA wear reflective and high vis vests over their gear, and I got to tell you that if I see somebody in the other lane that's wearing like all high vis, like the Aero Stitch stuff, that's the whole jacket and helmet and everything, I see them quicker in a crowd of people, away. So I think in daylight it makes a difference. At night, it's all about reflectivity.
right.
So something I saw at AIM that I thought was incredible is there's a company, Twisted Throttle, distributes a brand, and they might be out of Sweden, called Macna. They use, from what they explained to me, it's like some sort of a glass in the fabric that's highly reflective. So they had a display set up where you put on these dark glasses, really dark glasses, and then you shine a flashlight at a jacket on a display, and that thing lit up. The whole entire jacket did. Now, on a lot of coats, like on my Olympia and some of the other ones, some of the stitching and the piping is that DuPont reflective material, so you'll get an outline. Like I've seen people wearing those jackets at night, when the car lights hit them, you'll get an outline of the jacket. But this stuff from Macna, the whole jacket lights up. So in that term, high vis for that, I would, if I could select to have that on any gear I had, especially gear that, looked like it was vintage, like Revit's Urban line or something to that effect, man, I would opt for that in a minute. But as far as, the blaze green high vis colors, I don't know. I just
Yeah, I have one of those
helmet light colors is probably just as effective.
I have one of those Icon mil spec vests, that they sell, and I never wear it anymore. Now that I don't have to wear it to get on base at night, because it used to be during the day you could wear whatever, but if you were going to be there at night, you had to have and I quote, a brightly colored reflective garment. And honestly, I got away many times with this backpack because it's bright blue, and these stripes are reflective. And I'd pull up and they'd be like, "Do you have something brightly colored and reflective on?" Like, because I wouldn't look at it immediately, and I would just
Right.
turn and it'd be like, "Shine your light on it," and they'd hit it with their flashlight. I'm like, "All right, technically you're good to go."
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know they changed that. Paul made a couple comments too about how much is too much. Target fixation basically works in both directions. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I mean I agree, but for me I think it's about just being seen right off the bat. And one of the things I want to do on the Stelvio is fix the lights. The driving lights are kind of crap. They're hella just like an H4 bulb, real anemic, and I have been looking at Clearwater's, but I just can't bring myself to spend the money that Clearwater asks for the lights. And when I was at AIM, there was like a bunch of different manufacturers of LED lighting. There was, one company though. I'm not going to say the name of the company. They had some nice lights, and they were really reasonably priced. And I said, "What's your warranty like?" And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, some of these other brands I've looked at, you can send the lights back in and have them rebuilt if maybe you off-road, you took a crash and busted a housing." And he's like, "Well, at this price, just replace the whole light." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I guess I kind of see the point to that, but are they going to fail on me just because of the vibration from the bike? Because that's another question I asked."
Yeah, I just saw Chuck's question. I don't even know if I should dignify it with a response.
I don't know.
Totally.
If Chuck can come up with a gravy hose, then I will. I'll answer it.
Hi, Chuck of the Wheel Nerds.
Chuck is bored, man. He's just.
Apparently.
I guess Todd having a kid, Chuck's got nothing to do anymore.
Yeah. I'm gonna have another one of those really soon. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to start hanging out with Chuck more.
Yeah.
Oh God. So anyway, yeah, Chuck, you are my favorite wheel nerd because you're the only one I've ever met. So getting back to he made me lose my train of thought. This guy. Getting back to these bikes. EICMA, the new stuff that came out at EICMA. The other thing was the FJ09, and
yeah.
I was hoping that was going to be at AIM, but it wasn't.
I saw that too, and I've been sitting here. I've been looking at it a lot. Trying to figure out because my initial impression was that it looked kind of reminiscent of the FZ6. But I'm gonna look up another
the other day.
Compare them to each other side by side and try to see if I still feel that way. And I like the way it looks. I wasn't trying to knock it by saying that. I very nearly bought an FZ6 as like my second bike, and I mean they still definitely have a place in my heart in terms of bikes I lusted after.
The FZ01 was the one that I lusted after when it first came out. John said that bike's 10.5 without the bags.
Yeah, but I mean, according to John, he thinks that's a little high. I don't know. I mean, the Bonneville that I ride was like 9, so I mean, arguably this thing probably has a hell of a lot more technology in it. I don't.
$1,300 for bags too is not.
It's pretty run of the mill.
Depends on what you're gonna buy. Once you buy a set of GVs with the brackets and everything, they're probably right around $1,000. I mean, $600 for the bags and probably another 2 or 3 for the brackets, depending on what you buy. I don't know. So you're looking at that's 11.8 for that. That's probably not bad with bags.
Yeah, the Speed Triple was like 11.5.
Paul made a comment per John's question: when buying a bike, can you negotiate things like bags easier than price? It depends on the dealership and what they're getting into it. The one thing that I kind of I feel like people get kind of shafted on the dealers is the dealer prep and setup. That's all profit.
Yeah.
I bought a bike from a local dealer where they had a $1,200 prep and setup charge. That's ridiculous. And they weren't willing to negotiate on the price of the bike either. So that's an additional profit on top of that. When I bought the Moto Guzzi, the dealer had zero setup and prep, and the price of the bike was negotiable. So I kind of think that that's something that I don't know. I think that that's probably more what your negotiating tool is looking for a dealer that's gonna sell you the bike without paying those heavy dealer prep charges. So Chuck asks, okay, real one, everyone's rolling out sporty tours like the flu, but I'm very tempted by an SX, throwing some bags on it. What do you think? And this is something that we talked about, you and I, earlier. I didn't realize, Chuck, that bike doesn't have ABS on it. The ones we looked at, the SX and the RX. Now, hopefully the AX will. That, to be honest with you, I like that bike so much, and I like the motor and the way the bike ran and handled, that I would look past the fact that it's chain drive. Because for me, that was like a deal killer, was the fact that the bike had a chain for a daily commuter and tourer. But I like that bike so much that I'd probably go ahead and do it. You know, I'm talking about an AX if it comes out with something with ABS. On the SX, as much as I travel every day, 150 miles more round trip every day, and a lot of it in the rain, I don't know if I'd buy another bike, especially at that price point without ABS. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
I don't know. From my point of view, I really like the idea of because the SX is a straight up hooligan machine, and at least from what I've seen of it, and I really like the idea of having something that just has this little evil monkey on my back driving me to drive like an asshole. I like the idea of that because it's a lot of fun. But I almost killed myself the last time I had a motorcycle like that. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'd be willing to throw bags on it and commute on it. I don't really ever. I don't think that I would ride long distances on it. But I don't know, if somebody said, you've got to switch your Bonneville for one of these, then obviously it would be my only bike, so I'd have to do everything on it.
Well, it's funny because they were kind of like telling us that they had a bunch of, and I brought this up the last time we talked, a bunch of accessories coming out for the SX that was going to include bags and a taller windshield. And at first they had kind of alluded to the fact that the tail section was going to come off and there were going to be a different tail section that would hold some bags, and then they were saying that no, it would just be like a 3-piece bag set from someone else. So I don't know. But I'm still waiting on an AX, and I know that especially like Todd, or Chuck, who's had the Ulysses in the past, and it was funny because I talked to a couple of guys that were on Harleys at the gas station last week that were past Ulysses owners, and they were same thing. They were waiting to see if an AX came out. So maybe that bike will come out with integrated bags and ABS. And that kind of you and I were talking the other day about the new flavors of adventure bike, and even kind of using that terminology anymore, and the way you talk about how you kind of made a comparison to cars, which I thought was a really good comparison.
Yeah, so you had back in the 80s and the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, we had the K5 Blazer and the Bronco, and those were kind of pretty much off-roady truck things that had extra seats. And an enclosed area for your stuff. But they were kind of rugged and, in my opinion, more like the R100 GS of the time, or the R1100 GS or 1200 GS, purpose-built for, adventures, or even an older Range Rover.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, not that long after that, when they started becoming real popular, you had the Explorer, your little SUVs, and your like a little further, you had like your Nissan Murano and all those other ones that were strictly a road vehicle wrapped in an SUV body. And that really makes me think of the new BMW 1000. I don't remember what the exact letter combination they used, but
The it's something X RX 1000, I think.
yeah.
I mean, I looked at that bike and it's kind of like it looks a lot like the Aprilia, the new Capanord, or
See,
I think it looks a lot like that in my opinion.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and then MV's coming out with one too, and they're all kind of like in the same vein as the Multistrada. It's they got a smaller front wheel and they're more like they're more like just a sport tour, a different flavor of sport tour in my opinion.
Right, yeah, it's an upright, more comfy ergos sport tourer, which is, the new, like, Range Rover or Land Rover Evoque or your Nissan Juke or whatever, your Jeep Grand Cherokee Sport. Not really an off-road vehicle, not really, but, still has that sort of aesthetic to it.
Yeah, and they just like it's funny too because in the sport tour category, you can kind of break that down a lot. There's guys that do super sport touring. For instance, the Hayabusa. That bike. I've seen plenty of guys. Matter of fact, there's a guy with the MSTA down here that's probably ridden that bike, his Busa, across the country. He's got bags on it. I don't even know if he uses risers on it.
Right.
It's that's kind of what they do.
As sport tours go, the sport tourer that I've always had a really soft place for was the 1050cc Triumph Sprint ST.
Right. I rode one of those one year at Daytona and hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'd change my mind if I rode one, but the thing that I owned a 1050 speed triple, and so like I already had this sort of love affair with the engine in it, and so I was like, oh wait, you can take this same awesome engine and put it in a bike that has a fairing and bags. That sounds like it would solve a lot of problems.
I don't know. It's just there's so much of it out there now that they kind of mixed it in and lumping everything into sport tour or ADV, and the ADV thing's so kind of overused on so many bikes. Like calling the Stelvio an adventure bike is just, in the hands of maybe Jimmy Lewis, yeah, but it's a stretch because honestly, even a GS Adventure, when the new one I went and looked at it in the dealership, it's a behemoth. I mean, that thing is way bigger than the Stelvio. It's ginormous.
Yeah.
And the sticker price on this thing without bags was $24,000. It was, that's way out of the price range.
I noticed that Paul mentioned about we were talking about EBR, and then he was apparently thinking about buying a Zero. So even though gas costs would be greater buying an EBR, with both in the same price range, which way would I go or you go as far as a commuter, like an EBR or a Zero? And for me personally, if the Zero can really get 100 miles and then I could charge it overnight and then have another 100 miles, I could commute on a Zero. I wouldn't really be able to have any other, like very much other fun on it. It would be strictly a commuting motorcycle. Whereas the EBR, I could do a lot more on it because, I could ride 150 miles and then stop and get gas, which I cannot ride 150 miles and then in 5 minutes get electricity.
Right.
Which is a big difference. But as far as commuting-wise, like if my goal was to, if they were the same, with price being the same, if my goal is to have the cheapest, most economical commute, then I would probably go with the Zero. But you have a much longer commute than me.
I've thought about that, and I would probably have one just for the day-to-day commute if it had a longer range, because mine's, like I said, it's probably one way about 80 miles, 77, 78 miles one way, and that's just going to work. That's not like taking off for lunch or something. Now, I know that our city's like really big into electric, and they're talking about having charging stations everywhere. I don't really know how that's going to work as far as if it's just free and you just plug into it and use it whenever you want. But
we have stations here, and you pay, you pay a little bit.
Um,
Um,
the other thing is getting back to that on the if if money were no object thing, that's like if I could have the electric bike and not get rid of anything else. If I could only pick one, all things being the same, I'll take the Buell. I'll take the EBR. I want that visceral feeling of the motor and the sound and all that. The electric bike would just be like a means to an end for me to save money on that everyday commute. And there would be days when I'd probably park it in the garage and take the EBR just because it's so much fun. Just
right.
just to get on the on and off ramp, because that's the only thing that we've got as far as twisties is concerned.
Just hit up a clover leaf and then hit all four pieces of it and then end up in the same direction.
Right. So, John, we're turning this into a Q&A thing, but John posted something. He goes, Steven, being a Guzziista, I think Guzzi needs to revamp the line to stay relevant. They also need a cruiser in the 12K range with a big block motor, no more V7 variants. It's funny because they released a couple new versions of the California at EICMA, like an Eldorado version of it, and I haven't really seen anything on there. And I don't know. As far as the V7s, they're just really anemic and underpowered. I like the way they look, but I'd like to see them make that line in either the motor that's in the Stelvio, the 4-valve 1200, or something in between that 750, the small block, and the 1200. There's a lot to be said about those small displacement motors, and I heard some guys talking about the fact that they should bring back, if they're going to do a small block, bring out a 500, make it lighter, like they used to have, and do it in a light 500 bike, and then make some of the other bikes in the 1200. The Grezzo is a great bike. I mean, I love the way those things look, and they're fun to ride. They just don't seem to sell very well in the States for some reason. I don't know why. And then trying to get that, the California's got a ton of technology packed into it. I think that bike's probably the same price, if not a little bit more than the Stelvio. But both sets of magazines, for whatever this is worth, gave it Cruiser of the Year. But it's a nice bike.
I like the California.
Yeah, they could do like maybe a pared down one for probably in the $13,000 range. But yeah. There's a lot of technology in that bike. It's a nice bike. So I'm getting a text from somebody here that. Hold on a second. Let me.
To answer Paul's question about mustaches, it is Movember. Yes. I did not sign up on the official Movember website, but I am growing a mustache for now until my wife at least decides that it needs to go. Which she's been gone for 2 weeks, and so she doesn't even know that this has been festering on my upper lip for the last week. So
if I could grow a mustache for Movember, I would, but since I can't, this is the extent of me growing facial hair. Remember when I tried that at the Overland Expo?
Yeah. Well, how long is that? Like, how long have you since the last time you shaved?
Probably 3 days.
Okay. I mean, my upper lip has been like 11 days, so it's not like I've got this beautiful.
It's like a Ricky Ricardo porn stash. I'm sorry.
Totally is. Like, it's never going to get much better than this. It just gets darker.
Right.
The rest of the hair grows in around it, but no, it never grows like full and luxurious.
Honestly, I don't know if it's because of the fact that I had to shave for work, that we weren't allowed to have facial hair. I mean, we were allowed to have mustaches, but we weren't allowed to have beards. So I just shaved all the time, and I don't know.
But you're in the fire. You were in the fire department though. Like, it wasn't a requirement to have a mustache.
Yeah, that was Northeastern Fire Departments. When I first started in the fire service, there were some guys with the big handlebar mustaches. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of young kids that are growing those things now.
Yeah.
They just look funny on the young guys, but they're kind of trying to bring it back. Yeah, but no beards. There was no beards at all. You couldn't have a beard. And then our department had passed a policy that said no facial hair down past the corners of your mouth, because there were some guys that had some. That's where the whole turned up handlebar mustache came from, because you weren't allowed to have it past the corner of your mouth, so they just kind of like curved them up a little bit,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because you guys, it's a really similar reason why you can't have a lot of facial hair as why I can't. You got to be able to get a seal on your mask.
Right.
You have a bunch of facial hair, then no seal. And
Yeah,
it's
there's
just,
ways around that too, but I mean, especially with the double seal masks that they make nowadays and positive pressure. But yeah, that's where it really came from. And then, I don't know, like kind of you don't look like a public safety professional when you've got some scraggly beard or mutton chops or a Van Dyke or something like that going. So they kind of have a grooming standard. Hair's been an issue in the fire service since I started, where there were guys that were always pressing the boundary of what's considered long hair and not. There was some actual major lawsuits that happened in South Florida back in the I guess it was in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was a big deal. There were guys that had ponytails and they were went to court over it. Now it's kind of just like, eh.
yeah, the Navy just, first of all, they're the Navy, so they own me. They can tell me whatever they want, but they just have straight up like it's a hard and fast rule. Like the mustache, for instance, cannot extend more than a quarter of an inch past something, and then like it has to be in line. No, it has to be in line with the corners of my lip, and then cannot extend down over the top of my lip.
Right.
And then like hair, it's 4 inches long, like maximum of 4 inches length, 2 inches in bulk when it's laying down. Has to be tapered at least 3/4 of an inch around the edge. Like they're very specific. And even then, we still have pretty wide range of hairstyles that we're allowed to do.
Yeah, it's to me, being now that I'm the age that I'm at, having long hair at my age, it just doesn't look right in my opinion. I never, and my hair, probably the last episode, it was really puffy. My hair grows like out, not long, so it starts to look ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then really, it's a practicality issue of wearing a helmet all the time too. A motorcycle helmet it just stays cooler when you don't have a ton of hair underneath there. It's easier. I'd rather have, like, I got my hair cut really short before I left on the trip, just because, one, I didn't want to comb it or brush it at all, and usually when I go on long motorcycle trips like that, I don't take a lot of, like, shampoo and conditioner. I do that Dr. Bronner's, so I kind of, like, do everything with that. Wash your hair, bathe your body, the whole 9 yards with that biodegradable soap. So that's all I use, and it just makes it a lot easier when you got a helmet on all day, and then you're not sweating as much in the helmet.
Yeah. So John asked us if we had any thoughts on the new scramblers. I know we talked about them in a previous episode, but to be the short verdict is we both like them for a lot of reasons. I like the green one with the high fender more than the other ones.
I like a mix of both, kind of.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I kind of like the way they look mixed together.
Yeah.
Here's the kind of the feedback that we got from them, from Ducati, because we couldn't actually get next to the bikes and touch them at all. And James said that he's made a comment to the Ducati guys about being able to sit on the bike and look at it. And I don't know how true this was, but the guy said something to the effect of, well, we can't because a lot of the parts on the bike are still made out of clay.
I've seen them do that before. The GT1000, the
Right.
picture they had online for the entire time that bike was for sale were photographs of the clay model.
So I don't know. I don't.
That was true.
The bike was kind of cool, but again, it's a Ducati, so I'm worried about the cost of ownership on something like that. I like the way they look. If that, I don't know even if they talked about price or not yet on what they're going to be price wise.
I don't know either. If they were comparable, maybe a little more than a Bonneville or a Scrambler, and I didn't already have one, and I was looking for that kind of bike, I'd be willing to look into it. Like I'd be willing to try one. Because it would fill all the same kind of little requirements that my Bonneville does now.
It's light. I like the motor. The bike looks cool. The styling's really nice. It is a Ducati. I like the retro look of the thing. I know that they're marketing to us just like BMW. They're marketing to a certain crowd. Um, that pseudo hipster crowd, but it's I don't know. I guess what the price is with that. I think they're talking about three different price levels, starting somewhere around 7,900, right? Didn't we say that? And like the highest one was like close to 10.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 or 9 to 10.
Right. So yeah, they're cool. I mean, I'm waiting to see one actually in the flesh and kind of like pick it apart and sit on it and see how it feels and everything. I was disappointed that we couldn't at least sit on them at AIM, that they were up on like a pedestal with ropes, the velvet rope around it. You couldn't get next to it. I didn't think they were going to have any demo rides or anything like that, but I thought at least we'd be able to kind of play with the thing, but you couldn't. So maybe for IMS. IMS is in January in Miami. Yeah. I like the bike. I think it's kind of neat. Does it fit into the cafe racer culture? Well, I don't even know what that is anymore. So, and I know that it's just such an overused term, like adventure bike. And the funny thing is we produce a podcast for cafe racers and adventure bikes, but it's kind of like the reason I like it is I like the bikes that look like those bikes, like scramblers, like the Le Mans that I have, even though that's kind of a stretch, but I like the way that stuff looks. So if you want to call it a cafe racer, call it a cafe racer. If you're going to be a purist about it and say, no, it's got to be a British bike from these years, or it has to be something that had this chopped off of it and this put onto it, whatever, it's fine. That's the one thing I like about the guys from Cafe Moto Club, for instance, is that they're like the mutts. There's everything that you can think of out there that they've either cut parts off of or glued parts back on and welded something else in there. That's kind of what I like. And then as far as adventure bikes go, I like pretty much anything that you can take and extend your travel with. So if it means that I can do a little bit more off-roading than I normally would, that's what I kind of like. Make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I think neither of us is going to go like do the craziest off-road adventure in the world, on any bike, on your Stelvio or whatever. But just the idea that there's a few more roads that I would feel comfortable riding down is enough for me. Knowing that when I'm riding on the road and I see that little like fire road that goes off into the woods, I can say, I'm going to go that way. See what's that direction, as opposed to, yeah, this bike is not capable of that. I'm just going to keep on riding.
Well, what's funny is, and I used to think a lot of it had to do with tires.
Yeah.
So, and I used to think, well, if I put, the big block adventure tires on any bike that's got a little bit more suspension travel, I'll be okay with it. So a buddy of mine who's got a Super Tenere went to the Super Tenere rally that happened the same weekend as AIM, and he'd asked me to go with him, and I just couldn't. And he had just changed his tires out, and he was running Heidenhaus, the K60s.
Mm-hmm.
Just changed his tires out to the Michelin PR4s. And when he was up there, did an adventure ride with the guys. And now keep in mind that this guy's a really experienced rider. He raced professionally in the 80s for the AMA, and he did dirt bike racing. But they were giving him a hard time about his tires, saying, "Oh, you're never going to make it." And he said the bike did absolutely fine with those tires. There wasn't a problem at all. And the way he kind of said it is, he goes, unless your big blocks are making like treads in the dirt, in the sand, like they're actually gripping, if it's on rock, gravel, or any hard pack, it doesn't really make a difference. And he said the bike performed great with those PR4s. Now, the only reason that they call them trails is because of the tire size. It had nothing to do with the tread. The tread's the same as the regular PR4 Street. It just has to do with the size. So, I think then the only matter is a little bit more suspension travel. And, you'll see people argue about the front wheel. Well, that's if you're rolling over stuff. If you're not rolling over logs and rocks, then it doesn't really matter. And after I learned a little bit more about how to handle the Stelvio, I've had the bike in sugar sand and powered it through it where I didn't dump it over. So, I don't know. I guess it's all relative to how far you think you're going to go and what you're going to do. That Grand Canyon ride that they did when we were at Overland Expo, I probably wouldn't have tried that on that bike. It's probably just too heavy.
Yeah, and then listening to the stories they told when they came back, I was like, okay.
Didn't they send a couple guys to the hospital?
Yeah, they broke a bike in half and sent a couple guys to the hospital. Like, yeah, count me
Right,
out.
right. They broke a KTM in half, which
Yeah.
is supposed to be, you know,
Though the other thing about that is, we weren't there. Like, what was that guy doing, or what was the guy that fell and had to go to the hospital doing? Like, was he? Because I'm cautious as crap if you get me out on like dirt roads or whatever. Like, oh no, 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 I'm just gonna take this nice and slow and peck my way around the stuff. Like, maybe he was feeling a little overconfident because he was surrounded by a bunch of other adventure bike guys and turned off the rational side of his brain for a minute and did something a little dumb. I don't know.
well, it's funny because when I was in Sedona, I actually talked to a guy that was on that ride. I don't think he was the guy that got hurt, but he did get hurt, and I think they got in a section where there was a lot of big gravel.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what happened. Like it was just they got into some big rocky area there, and that kind of caused them to lose the front end. I don't know. Like I said, it's all to me. It's all kind of relative on what you're going to do, and I like the way I personally like the way those bikes look. I like that look of a Multistrada or you know the GS Adventure. I like the way the thing looks. I think it's cool looking. But am I that guy that's going to go parked in front of Starbucks? Yeah, once in a while I am. But I'll also ride the bike across country when I have the opportunity to. I mean, I've already shown that I'm not afraid to take it places and take it off road. I don't think
Yeah.
I would go alone in some of these areas just because to me that's just kind of stupid, especially if you're new at this and you don't really know what you're doing and you're riding a 600-pound motorcycle plus with all the gear and crap on it by yourself. So to me it's all kind of relative to what you want to do.
Yeah.
But the Scrambler, I think it's a cool bike. I'd probably own one if money weren't an object. It all comes down to for me is what I can afford to own and what you know what how much money I want to going out every month. So I don't think I'd go buy it on a loan, honestly. The EBR, that's a different story. But I'd probably, if I were to buy that SX and outfit it for touring or wait for an AX, I'm probably going to get rid of the Stelvio to do that. I don't think I'd keep it. I don't think I need two of those bikes. That's why I'm waiting for really the AX to see what it comes out to be like. Because if the AX comes out with, let's say, a 19-inch front wheel, or even doesn't even matter, even if it is smaller, that motor just did it for me. It was really nice. It was really nice. It was cool. No, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I really want to ride one of those things, like, because just the impression I've got from you and anybody else I've heard that's ridden one, like, I want to get on one of those really bad. I I rode an older Buell and was not impressed at all, but that was, in my opinion, he was kind of stuck in a less than ideal situation with having to use the Harley Sportster motors.
Well, even that, like I like that. What is that? FB9 or something? The little one, the little short one that they had that had the Sportster motor in it. When I see those things come up to the gas station, man, I love the way they sound and the way they look. That'd be a cool little hooligan bike to have. But the new one's completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
And the really funny thing about it is too is everybody that I talk to that I told them I rode it, they go, "Well, how bad was the clutch on it?" So this is another one of these internet phenomenons, that one person went up and probably like grabbed the clutch on an RS and it was super tight, and they were talking about how bad the clutch on it was. I wouldn't know one of those. The clutch is really horrible.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. So I don't know if they fixed it or because it might have been a real issue, but it was perfectly fine. I was 2 fingers on the clutch, not an issue at all. It was
I can hardly two-finger the clutch on my Bonneville. Like, I gotta give it a whole hand.
Bonneville's tight, yeah. That's really tight. So anyway, you got any announcements? I wanted to just read real quick some of the iTunes reviews we've gotten because they're nice, and I want to shout out and say thanks a lot.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
T. Parsons put up a really nice review. Thank you very much. He enjoyed the podcast. We enjoyed doing it for you guys. And then we got quite a lot. There's a couple of names that your iTunes names, dudes. I can't even read these things.
One is
Mathematica Papo, whatever that is, but there was a guy that I must have met when I was on the trip. Biscuit Stuff put in a thing. Hey, I met Steve on the road today. He told me about the podcast. I love podcasts and motorcycle. Listen to 3 or 4 episodes on the drive home, and it's for sure my kind of entertainment. Look forward to future episodes and maybe a ride together someday. Yeah, that would be great. And I kind of think I know who that is. I met him in Oklahoma. Hey, man, someone just figured out how this thing works.
Yeah. I'd like to welcome our new favorite wheel nerd, Chuck.
Yeah, that weird face on that picture there. You guys see this?
That's the most normal
That's
face.
scary. What is that? So anyway, getting back to these reviews. Thank you very much for writing us reviews on iTunes. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't written us one, please do. And we like getting feedback, positive or negative. Anything we can do to improve the show. Like I was saying from John. John gave us a lot of feedback on the audio quality, and we take it all to heart. John didn't like the music in the beginning, but too bad.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have an opinion, I mean, seriously, if you like something or if you don't like something, we want to hear about it. We're always looking to improve the show. It definitely helps us out. I mean, it doesn't. I honestly don't think we're going to take John's advice on getting rid of the music. We got a couple of responses to the contrary, and I happen to like it, so it's like, well, I like it, and then a couple other people like it, so majority/dictator rules, I guess. I don't know.
Bottom line is, Crash is your show. We do whatever you want, so the music stays.
But I mean, I have had thoughts about possibly changing the music thing, so who knows? We'll certainly think about it. As far as fun logo sticker stuff, we commissioned some artwork, got the first draft back. We requested some changes, so we're going through that process now. So I know that I've been saying that the logo is in the works, but it was really we're dinking around and haven't started yet. We really did start, and we really did get to see a first draft of a logo, so that's actually happening soon. For real this time. If you'd like to support us, you can go over to patreon.com and search for Crash, or I think just Crash will find. I'll say Crash is creating podcasts. If you listen to Adam Curry's No Agenda podcast, he uses the phrase value for value. So if you get any value out of this show and would like to contribute some value back, we would greatly appreciate that. It would go a long way to paying for stuff like hosting and whatnot.
Yeah, and honestly too, when I got the call about or the comment from John about the audio equipment, I kind of upgraded some of my equipment on my own dime just because, not necessarily anything that John heard, but some of the interviews we've done when we do the remotes, it's really hard to do them good if you've got crappy recording equipment, and I wanted to be able to give you guys the best sound possible when we do remotes. And sometimes these are you guys might not be able to go to AIM or to IMS. Certainly us to be able to go to Eichmann would be really great. We can't. So I feel like if we can bring you something from those shows that's a little bit better than what you'd probably hear most of the time, that's what I want to do, is make sure you guys get good content. And that being said, we got some stuff coming up that I'm going to be attending. So one is going to be the Revival Rally in Orlando in the Milk District with Cafe Moto. I probably won't do live like I did last time, but Chris, maybe we'll try something on Google Hangout between phone to phone, see how that works. That's not. Are you going to be in Guam? No, you'll be back by then. This is December 7th. So you're going to be back, right?
Yeah, I'm not. So the Long Beach International Motorcycle Show is next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you're interested in going. I have not heard anything back from the press credentials people, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter because I have a flight at 6 in the morning on Friday morning to go to Guam, and I saw my itinerary. I was like, that's so early. I cried a little, and then I got over it. But I'll probably cry that day too. I'll be whiny and grumpy. But yeah, so I'm leaving on next Friday to go to Guam, and I'll be there for a week.
I'm gonna try to go to the to IMS in Miami. It's in January. I sent the same thing in for press credentials, but from what I hear from a lot of people, they're very late on doing it. So
Yeah, who knows? I might get an email like halfway through this week. It's like, oh yeah, cool, you can come. I'm like, yeah, great for me, I guess. I'm not gonna be there.
right.
They keep dangling this carrot out in front of me. Like when we first got news about going to Guam, it was going to happen not even this past week, but the week before, and then it was this week, and then it was this coming week, and now it's the week after that. So hopefully it doesn't get
really
much farther. Yeah.
Huh. Oh well. Anyway, listen, like I said, we got a bunch of events coming up that we're gonna try to get you guys content from. So if there's anything, if you're out there and you're hosting an event and you want us to talk about it or put it up on the Facebook page or on our website, please send it to us at feedback@caferacerpodcast.com, or you can send it to crash@caferacerpodcast.com or steve@caferacerpodcast.com. But we'd love to hear about local events that you guys got going on, and we'll put them up on Facebook and we'll talk about them. I'd love to be able to, if it's something in Florida or in the San Diego area, send it to us. We'll try to make it.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially San Diego. Crash doesn't have any friends, man. You guys got to start inviting him to stuff.
I just sit here at home, work on homework.
Right.
Doing nothing. That's not true. I do a lot of stuff, but I'm always looking to do more fun stuff as opposed to more work stuff because I kind of live there.
All right, man. I got nothing else.
Yeah, me neither. So everybody get out and ride. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow or Monday.
Me too, man. We'll see you.
Take it easy.